What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Krissy D, Queen of Underground Radio. Welcome to my world, Muzik Freak Radio, where it goes down, where I bring you your favorite artists and celebrity interviews. Y'all know how I do, right? So today, we have a very, very special guest, okay? From the golden era of hip-hop. So I'm going to say that again, if you missed it. From the golden era of hip-hop. We got the legendary, okay? Rap producer. The legendary, oh my God, Erick Sermon with us today. I'm so glad to have you. I know you are an extremely busy man, and I am so humbled that you took the time out of your busy schedule to interview with me, and I promise not to keep you long. One of the things that I discovered about you, Mr. Sermon, is that you're from Brentwood, Long Island.
Yes.
Right? And what's so really unique and interesting to me is that, because hip hop originated in the Bronx, but according to what you were saying, that Brentwood, Long Island, when you was growing up, that you had everything that you needed: graffiti artists, you had your MCs, your DJs, your break dancers, so everything was there for you.
Right.
And I thought that was amazing, because I would never ever think that Long Island would be the place where you would have all of that. It would be so hip hop cultural. So what was it like growing up in Brentwood, Long Island as a child?
Well, Brentwood was like multicultural. It was white, black, and Puerto Rican. Like, we grew up with a lot of Spanish people. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
That's why Brentwood right now is mostly Spanish right now, and Salvadorians. El Salvadorians right now in Brentwood. They took over the whole town. But
right.
It was multicultural. That's why EPMD music, we sample like David Bowie and ZZ Top. We knew all these other flavors of music because from our other friends that we had, white and black. But it was a very hip hop place. If I never got famous, I would have thought that hip hop was in Brentwood, because we had everything. We had we had the park jams, like the city had the park jams. We had the DJ comes to the park, plug the equipment up to the light post, and the whole shit where the Bronx were doing. We were doing the same thing.
Oh,
and we had amazing break dancers, we had amazing graffiti artists, and some of the dopest MCs and DJs in the world that we thought before I got famous. So it was like being in the Bronx to me.
Dope. So what I want to ask you is, how much of an influence did your mom have in your evolution of hip hop? Because I know you said that she would bring you home like Apache and what else? I'm sorry, Apache.
Rapid Delight. She brought home Rapid Delight,
right?
She brought home Rapid Delight. Apache, yeah. She brought it from her job.
Into the hip hop culture herself.
See, my mother was 15 when she had me. So you can imagine, my mother's only 15 years older than me, so she was a young kid herself when hip hop came. You know what I'm saying? So at her job, some guys were selling records. So she bought the Apache album from them and Sugar Hill Gang single from them. And then when Christmas came around, she bought me one turntable and a mixer. I can't do nothing with one turntable, but she didn't know that, but she bought me a mixing turntable, and then I had a cousin down the block who was into it heavily. So I would sneak out to the parties with him, and I would try to get on the mic, but they wouldn't give me nothing but like 4 seconds. Some people would say no, no. But my mother was very influential of believing in me at the time.
Right, I see. And what was even more crazy is that at the tender age of 12, you wrote your first rhyme, which was Jane. And that's the rhyme that you said that you were spitting with everybody. And that song ended up going on your first album, Strictly Business.
Yes.
So you're definitely gifted, because I don't know how many 12-year-olds walking around or out now, period, or at the time, could write a song and that be the one of the songs featured on their very first album. Yeah,
it was two of them. It was Jane and Bernard Getz. You probably too young to know about who Bernard Getz was, but Bernard Getz was a white man who shot up the Long Island Railroad. So I wrote two stories. It was one about him, and then I wrote Jane, and then Jane's when we ended up using.
Right. So speaking of stories, right? Because that's what the true essence of hip hop really was about, like the storytelling and the message and the music, right? So coming from the golden era of hip hop to seeing what it is now, how do you feel about the music now? Do you feel like people have the right to present their creativity in whichever form that fits them, or do you feel like it should be certain protocols when it comes to the representation of the culture?
No, because you're right. You know what it is already. Like, you want to hear it again though. But we had creativity, and there's no disrespect to the new people, but there's no creativity. Everybody sound the same. Back
Right.
then, you can name Public Enemy didn't sound like Kane, and Kane's like Rakim. Rakim sound like EPMD. EPMD sound like De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest. Special Ed. Pee Wee Herman. Fucking. We can name 25 rappers, and we all sold mad records without sounding like each other. So you knew that was Slick Rick. You knew that guy right there was, Kool Moe Dee. You knew the distinction of LL Cool J and Run DMC. Right now, you got the rappers who are just sounding the same because in their eyes, Chaos One said too one time, he said, right now, before, I wanted to make sure that I wanted to make something better than my colleagues. Now, the rappers are saying, oh, I can make that too. And they're making the same exact record. And that's where we at right now. No disrespect, because again, it's what they come from. But all I know, the fact that when Run DMC gave me the format, I knew where I had to go.
What I thought was pretty original was that, and interesting at the same time, was the fact that for you to be born East Coast, to have the West Coast salute you as being the godfather of rap.
Yeah.
So how does that people that acknowledgement make you feel coming from the East Coast, but people respecting what you do on the West Coast?
Yeah, like when you came up and said, where you from, Brentwood, they thought we was from Brentwood, California.
Right.
Because of the way the sound that we sampled. We sampled West Coast music to them. To us, we just felt what we felt that was funky at the crib. But in LA, they was rocking to More Bounce. They was rocking to Phaso. They was rocking to Parliament. They was rocking to, Funkadelic. They was rocking to that music that we was sampling already. So, when I heard Dub C say that, and I just posted something with Cypress Hill just now saying we was pumping EPMD. I saw something the other day with MC8 was saying, when Strictly Business came, that was the format of what we should sound like over here. So to hear that sounds crazy, because again, we was just doing what we wanted to do, what we felt was dope to us.
Right. And I heard you say in one of your interviews that people wouldn't believe you, but through all that you did in music, it was like kind of like effortlessly, like it was just something that just was natural to you. It didn't take much to do. So what I would want to ask you now is, of course, when still wanting to put out great music, right? Do you ever feel the challenge now of adapting to the times for the people that might have a different type of an ear?
Right. I think that our age group is still here. And D-Nice just showed that just with the quarantine.
Yes.
That we are the majority. The majority is us. We've always been the mainstream. We never went nowhere. Just because you have you still have this other age group who still loves music, who still loves real R&B and real hip hop music. So I don't have to conform to that. And I hope that my colleagues never have to conform to that. If they still want to make music, you still have your people who you came in with that are still here. We didn't die. So why do you have to worry about doing what they're doing? That's what the kids are doing. Let them do what they do. You still do you. That would be my adjustment. The people are like, well, you got to follow the times, or you don't want to be old and the whole time. No, I'm being me.
Right. So many people, like you said, like everybody pretty much in the industry. I was amazed watching the different interviews about you, but so many people in the industry have had to come to you. So it's like, I could interview people, right? And I could say, well, who is somebody that, has said something to you and, it's made you feel so good or you appreciate it, but you, Erick Sermon, are that person. So it's like, I would have to ask you the tough question, because even though everybody had to come through you, the majority of people, who would you say in the industry is somebody that you could look at with great admiration and respect and say, like, when they gave you a stamp, it meant everything to you?
I think that being 17 years old, coming to the game and going on my first tour with Run DMC would have to be Russell Simmons. Russell told me a word. He said, yo, no matter what in life, you always be humble. Now, I understand the definition a little bit, but not really know what humble meant.
Right.
It's just the fact that being respectful and then not being an asshole. So when time do go by, people can say, you know what, hey, that was a good dude. So I always helped out people. I always did music for free. I produced half of the industry in the late 80s and 90s and the early 2000s. My resume shows that I produced everybody in R&B and hip hop.
Fugees, the Fugees came to you. Even 50 Cent, you know what was real crazy?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I didn't know that 50 Cent was like Def Squad, saying Def Squad and one. Is that true?
Yeah. I did one of his first singles was a song I did. After How to Rob, he got signed to Sony. I did a song called Heat Wave, and that was the first time that in my basement we did like 7 songs, whatever it's not. That was his first single before he got shot. Right. So, but that was a guy who was my friend, who we came to the house, we did records, we boxed downstairs, we did whatever, you know.
Right. That's truly amazing. Yeah. And I heard you also Cannabis too. But Cannabis,
He was
with that situation.
Yeah, Cannabis it was known that he was shouting Death Squad on the radio. He was, again, I guess at the end of the day, Cannabis was offered a deal, you know, and Cannabis, you didn't know that he was a person who was already loose a little bit. So when he got the opportunity to get offered a deal, he went with Wyclef, you know.
Right.
And it was, I didn't know that part of him as far as the looseness of him. But at one time he was Death Squad all the way, you know.
Right. So with that being said, you have a lot of artists out, right? And everybody, well, not everybody, aside from the people that's looking to do the independent, but the people that are, the artists that are looking for the deals. You know, somebody comes knocking at your door, most of the time the artists want to jump on that because they don't know when they're going to get that opportunity again. But right. Sometimes being so anxious can cost you a lot, and you might not really get what you're entitled to and what you deserve.
Yes.
So what would be your advice to artists now that might be watching this live or is going to watch this interview, as far as, you know, being patient and making sure that they're making the right decision when it comes to signing with the label?
Nah, Chris, that's a great question, because you're saving somebody's life right now. Is because you can be so early to jump into something that's not right. You know, again, like, you know, I see all these deals these kids are getting with these 360s, where these companies are owning your publishing and owning your, you know, some of your shows and your rights to your all your as far as your ownership of your likeness.
Right.
You got artists who can't make posters, they can't make merchandise, they can't do nothing because the company owns that. So just be careful of the contract, because right now labels are almost kind of extinct right now. Like, not to really put them on blast though, but people, is more independent people right now, like the Tory Laneses, the Chance the Rappers, the Young and May. These people are making tons of money the way it's supposed to be. You know, you work hard, the money comes to you. Right. You know, so the independent game is very, very, very. We came from the independent game. Right. Like all the rappers back then, we all came from a subsidiary that went to a major, but we was all independent, that we were signed to it first. So it's going back to that, and people having more power and more ownership. So look at what you want to do first before you go put yourself in that predicament.
You know, I'm not gonna keep you too much longer because, like I said, I know you're a busy man. But
okay,
as far as the independent artists, like, I really do respect and understand why people would want to do it. It's just that what it takes, it's you.
Oh yes,
it's your money.
Yeah, you're right. It does.
And how does it go with when you're independent and you want to get your song on the radio? Because I heard you have to pay like, is it like thousands of dollars just to get
Now, I
plays
mean,
and
like I
spins?
said,
How does that work?
yeah. And let me get some for the people to understand. If anybody ever watched the movie Cadillac Records, or if you watch Dreamgirls, Jamie Foxx had to sell the cars to get money for what? Money for radio. It's not a secret. Those two movies shows you what had to be done to get airplay. You had to pay. Now, I don't know how the system goes, but at the end of the day, it's only 16 songs that's on the playlist that go on the radio every day. Just 16 songs. So what's going to make your song be able to get in that rotation? Wow. You got to play ball. So you're right. The independent world is a world that used to be prevalent on you having to have radio. Now we don't need to have that no more because of the streaming and the other avenues you get to do to YouTube to blow up your music. At one time, radio was a factor. You're right about that, but not now.
Right. And you know, you saying 16 songs, come to think about it, I wonder, because every time I listen to the radio, it always feels like I'm hearing the same songs over and over. And it makes sense
just 16.
They only can play 16.
That's it, 16.
So now, can you educate the people on the advantages of TrackLib?
Well, TrackLib is just
right?
Yeah, TrackLib is my sampling company, which I'm glad that people are going to now because it's making the music more exciting again. Because don't get hip hop is sampling. I don't give a fuck what people say about whatever. Sampling is hip hop. Period. The culture is sampling. The way it sounds, the way it feels, the soul in hip hop came from sampling. But once the business got messed up and people started getting hit for all that money and the companies started not wanting to play these sample clearances, the whole nine, it got mixed up, so people stopped sampling. So that's why we have this whole slew of new producers with these programs that sound the same because it's all a package. So there's no creativity. It's only one sound because the sampling was gone. So that's why you have these songs who come in today and leave tomorrow. These songs they making right now is for the moment. That means right. If the summer is hot, here's that hot summer song. If the club is hot, here's that hot club song. D-Nice is playing records that we made in the 80s and 90s, and they just as powerful as the ones you hear now. Don't forget, he played no new records. And there's 4 million people in that chat room. 4 million. So the music can never be duplicated because it had soul to it. It wasn't just something that you just made at the moment. So going back to TrackLib, I was able to say, let me find a way with my partner to make this able for people to afford the sample, make it quick for them, and then they able to pay for it right there in front of them, you know? Right. So right now I got about 200,000 songs in my library, and now companies are coming to me wanting to give me songs to put inside my system because they see that, oh, okay, well, this is working now because everybody want to get paid. Don't forget, they was robbing us back then. So now it's like, okay, well, they're not getting no money now because nobody's sampling. So, oh, let's go over here and see what Eric can do for us. So, I mean, hopefully it'll bring the sound back and the soul back and to bring back the fun back to music.
Well, that's what I'm looking forward to because this new school music is just different. It's just a different feeling, you know? So yeah. I'm grateful for the people that still keep the bars and the culture alive, you know, because a lot of artists, they don't educate themselves about the culture. It's like they just make music, but you got to really know about it. Like even myself, I'm going to be honest, you know, I wasn't really like, I like hip hop music, but I wasn't really like into it like that. Right. But when I started interviewing and I started to develop like a love because it's so interesting just to see what our people did, you know, when they told the stories. And like you said, I heard you mention like some of your top 5, like Rakim, you know, Big Daddy Kane, you know, these types of people, Nas. And it's just like when you hear those names, it's like you almost get chills because you know that they literally were like lyricists and they were just storytellers and amazing. But you also said that you slept on Nas. Why was that?
Yeah. Because what happened was I had rappers that was, again, EPMD, you know, I had the list, so that was different. You know, Das Effects had the Miggity Miggity, which changed the culture at one time. Redman was different on metaphors. Keith Murray was like, you know, I'm gonna look at this comical reaction. I'm was coming through like big words. My K Solo was spellbound. Like my artists were like different type of rappers. So when I heard Nas, I'm not from there. I'm not from the city. I'm not from Queen. I'm not from the project. From the suburbs. So when he was spitting the rhetoric of where he came from, I really couldn't relate to it. Kinda, even though I'm from the hood, but not that type of hood. So I mean, it's so embarrassing to say because I say it now because I'm older, so it doesn't matter. But I wish I would have understood because he gave me the opportunity to come to me.
Right.
Doing Illmatic. Can you imagine? You know, Primo, Pete Rock, you know, Q-Tip, you know, Large Professor line. I was in the studio making records for Illmatic, and I was giving him C-list record. You know, that right there is one of the most. Wish I can go back in time and fix that.
I mean, you know, you live and you learn. Like you said, at least you could admit it. You know, it's still great. You guys are both great people.
Yeah.
Do great things. So, you know, it is what it is on that. But, you know, yesterday was a truly sad day for hip hop. Because
definitely.
Lost the late Fred The Godson. I had a privilege to interview him, and what was so, you know, amazing about Fred was that, okay, because when I first started doing the interviews, you know, you up and coming. I'm still up and coming, but I was even like, you know, not what I'm doing right now. But when I reached out to Fred, he said that he would do the interview with me.
Right.
And I remember going to the Matrix Studios. Shout out to the Matrix Studios, by the way. But I remember going to the Matrix Studios and being so excited about that show because I was going to interview Fred The Godson.
Right.
And I texted him, and he had told me, he was like, sis, I'm so sorry. You know, I couldn't get a babysitter. And, you know, next time. And then we set it up again the next time, and he didn't come. And I was like really disappointed because I was such a huge fan. So I turned around and I jumped in his DM and I said, you know, maybe you didn't want to do my platform because my platform wasn't big enough. I said, but, you know, it would have really been dope to have you because I'm a huge fan. But what I admired most about him was the fact that he said, sis, you are 100% right. I am so sorry. You give me the next date that you have available, and I will make sure I am there. I promise you, no bullshit. And he showed up, and he came, and he did that interview with me, which is what I actually posted on my Instagram, and I'm just so grateful. I
saw it.
You know, so what I want to ask you is, have you had any, like, of course you've had experiences, but what, like, can you give us like an encounter that you've had with Fred that you'll never forget?
Nah, just again, first time 2011 coming to my house, I was playing some beats and he had called somebody and said, man, I heard some beats before, but Erick Sermon was showing off tonight. I mean, he played beats back to back to back to back. That's all I could hear him saying, like, Jesus Christ, like this man is he doesn't stop. And I was just playing just playing beats just to be, you know, just to get the mood started. So but ever since that we became friends, and then he came to my studio from my building and came in there and worked with Rockwell and us again. No, he came on my ESP album in 2015. I saw him then, and then I saw him again early this year with Rockwell in my lab again today. So we was kind of like, you know, friends, you know, as far as like that, you know, who rhyme wise, like I wish that he could have got the shot that he was supposed to get, you know, starting back from when Monique got hot. When Monique got hot, it was supposed to be his time. Something happened with the contract with Def Jam and the whole nine, but I wish he was, even though, again, he's going to go down as a legend, but I just wish that he worked so hard. He worked so hard for years to get to this to this moment, to become this person. And I wish it would have happened for him.
Right. You know, but he is someone that, you know, we'll never forget. He will always be a part of the culture. You know, it's important that we give people their roses while they're here. I hate to see when people pass, everybody is just so attached.
We do. And watch how many folks do with Nipsey. I ain't front when Nipsey died. I didn't know. I knew Nipsey, but I didn't know him like that until afterwards. I'm like, wow, he was doing all that. You know what I'm saying? You know, so it's sad because now we're gonna. I was watching Fred the other day on the Funk Master Flick. I saw it a couple of times before, but Chris, I was like, this man was incredible on the mic. Like Fred The Godson, like he was saying some things like, yo, the way he put the words together, like it was Big O. You know, he was one of those. And he never got the chance to get there.
Yes. But at least we know. At least, even though, you know, he never got that chance, at least we all know that everybody, there's not anybody in this in the hip hop world or that knows him that would disagree with us right now, that he is one of the most incredible lyricists that ever lived.
No, he's getting love. I'm seeing the post now from West Coast rappers, South rappers. I'm like, I was happy to see that they was people. I was not expecting people to know him like that as far as the other ones, but I was like, wow. So they all did know Fred. They all knew him.
Yeah, definitely. So my condolences go out to his family and his wife. I can't imagine what he's feeling right now.
Yep, and the kids too. Oh my God, he loved his kids. His kids loved. He loved them children.
Yes, I know. I don't want to tear up thinking about it, so I'm going to try to make it a little bit more lighter before I get you out of it. The last thing I'm going to ask you is, we got to get a classic, one of the most classic moments of hip hop that has ever happened to you, whether you was a part of it or not. What is something that went down in the history of hip hop that you can never ever forget as long as you live? Is he still there?
Nah, man. I was paused because.
Okay. You gotta give us one.
Man. Okay. Well. Right. Okay. The last day of Yom TV Raps, when everybody was on the last show, and all the rappers came to the building to freestyle that day. I think that was something special. You can watch it on YouTube if you want to. You know, me, Rakim, Red and Meth, you know, Fat Joe, MC Hammer, you know, Search, Drez, Chubb Rock, Karas One. That day was crazy. That day. So it was a good day.
Like I said, you just, you know, me interviewing you is something that I can definitely say that I did, and it is just like an extraordinary opportunity. Thank you so much. I'm just going to ask you to just do me one favor. I always ask everybody before.
All right, Chris.
If you could just tell the people why they should interview with Krissy D. If you feel that they should, I would.
Okay, yes. I do it. Okay, this is Erick Sermon, the Green Eye Bandit, quarter EPMD, 1/3 of the Def Squad. Krissy, she knows the culture. She admitted that she wasn't a fan of hip hop like that in the beginning, and that takes balls to be like, yo, I wasn't a fan of this shit in the beginning, but when I heard interviews, I loved it. But the fact that she loved it once she heard and she researched more about it, that means somebody took the time to research to get to know what this hip hop shit is about. So just on that note, I respect her for that. So interview with this woman. Get asked the dopest questions. Get asked something real that come from a real person, from her heart. Because she didn't have to say that she didn't like hip hop. That's something crazy to say to a hip hop person, but she admitted it. So interview with Krissy. She's great. One love. I love you, Chris.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sermon. Okay.
All right. One love.
So
Peace.
See you soon, hopefully. All right. Take care.
All right. See you soon. All right.